why we demonize women. Welcome to Change the Conversation with the Hopefulist. My name is Wendy McClure, and it's time we had a conversation about living in a patriarchy and how that affects our lives. Together, we can make a difference and change the conversation. It's time to question everything. Question the status quo. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And I hope that we can work together to change the conversation around patriarchy so that we can all live better lives without shame, without fear, without all of the judgment that is hurled at women on a daily basis. You know, Gen X is the first generation to realize how impossible it is to keep up with all we are being held accountable for. You know, we were predominantly the first generation to have women working outside of the home en masse, where most of us went to college, most of us worked on a career, and most of us wanted to keep our career after we started having families, and then it became a need. Then it became so outrageously expensive that we had to work in order to pay all of the bills. So we have both the man and the woman working outside of the home, but we're continuing to have families, continuing to try to do everything. And I had a man say to me once, you guys are the ones that wanted to work, so, that's on you. No, that's not actually accurate. What I responded to him with was, no, we wanted to be paid to work because we've always worked. We've always done a 24/7 job that does not get paid. The only pay you get is for when you leave the home for just a specific amount of time, and then you get to leave that job and come home. Where women, when they were staying at home and taking care of their families, was a 24-hour-a-day job, and there was no compensation for that whatsoever. And somehow we have just decided that that's okay, that all of the work, being on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single day of the year doesn't deserve any compensation whatsoever. And it wouldn't even be that bad if that work was valued in any way. Even if it's not monetarily valued, but it's not valued. It's not valued at all. The status quo is that's just how it is. And that's why we need to question everything. There's a video making the rounds right now. It's a pastor, talking about women and how women are claiming to love the single life and how they can just sleep in on a Saturday morning and fly off to Belize whenever they feel like it. And he's saying that, yeah, you may be happy now, but check in when you're 50, when you're all alone on Christmas Day with no family, with your 7 cats and a couple of STDs. Now, this is my favorite part. The pastor had to throw in the couple of STDs. Because only women clearly can get STDs, because only women that have sex are dirty and disgusting and subjected to such things. Men never get STDs. Men, when they have sex, it's just to solve that biological need. It's so that they can get what they need to de-stress, to make them healthier human beings. Doesn't matter what the woman needs. That's her job. So that in and of itself is what really triggered me in the first place, is this pastor is giving this idea that women who have sex without marriage are prone to get STDs, which is completely and utterly ridiculous. Again, it's okay for men to have sex, not okay for women to have sex. But this is nothing new. We've all known this. The other part of the message that I thought was kind of funny and ironic is just because somebody doesn't have a partner in life doesn't mean they don't have any family to spend Christmas with. You know, I was single until I was 41, and I managed to spend Christmas with my family every single one of those 41 years. Was never alone on Christmas. So what is he doing? He's painting a picture. He's trying to paint a picture of how awful life is going to be for these single women who are purportedly saying how much they love their single life now, that they're going to pay for it later. So the message is, to me, instead of encouraging men to be better partners, to be the men that women would actually choose to be with, we're going to just demonize women instead and make them feel shame and judge them for choosing to stay single. Now, I'll give you a little hint, guys. First of all, it's not working, okay? We're on to it. We will not be shamed anymore. You can say all you want about us. You can demonize us until the world ends. And we're just not going to pay attention anymore because now we know better. And we're going to continue to know better because we're going to continue to question everything. And why it has turned out that women cannot do anything right no matter what the situation is. I put up a post the other day that said, before marriage, everybody tells women, your standards are too high. You need to lower your standards. This is why you're not finding a partner. This is why you're not getting married. Your standards are too high. And then after you get married and you start to complain about certain things in your relationship, you get told, well, your standards were too low. You should have held out for someone better. Sound familiar? Does that sound like a no-win situation to you? Because it certainly does to me. This is what we're up against. This is what we've been up against. And it's not been questioned for hundreds of years. It's just been the status quo. And we're not going to fall for that anymore. So what is really perplexing to me, and I guess it's not really perplexing as much as it is annoying, that, like I said, instead of men leveling up, instead of becoming the people that women want to spend their time with, because I assure you that women, if they found a partner who would add to their life instead of detract from it, they would go all in. They would be ready to commit to that relationship. But they do not want to commit to something that's going to run them ragged, that's going to make them responsible for 80% of the domestic and emotional labor in the relationship, plus 50, sometimes more, sometimes less, of the financial labor, of the labor that actually brings in money. Because, again, we're going off this theory that's just always the way that it's been done. And it's even deeper than that. It's like, well, women are nurturing. Women are mothers because they're better at it. They're more nurturing. And that might be true to an extent for the fact that we are the ones that grow the babies. So we obviously have a pretty deep bond with that baby. But to say that men cannot be nurturing is, first of all, selling men very, very short. But second of all, it's just not true. You know, men are complaining that there's all of these changes that they're having to go through. And there are changes that we're expecting you to go through in order to be with us. And that means that you need to pick up more slack when it comes to the domestic and emotional labor. It means that you have to treat us as a partner, not as just somebody who is there for when you need us, for when you need to relax. We have thoughts, we have wants, we have needs as well. And we have been taught our entire lives to put all of that on the back burner and to center the man in your life. And we're just not willing to do that anymore because it's not worked out well for us. It's not worked out in a way that makes us happy. You know, we're encouraged to not speak out, to keep the peace. But whose peace is that keeping? That's keeping everybody's peace but your own. And it's literally making us sick. There is an article that has just come out, I believe it's the New York Times, talking about how women are getting sick, literally getting sick, because we are holding everything inside. And this is the reason why women are so much more medicated than men. And again, instead of looking at that as a warning flag, why are all the women on medication for depression and anxiety? No, we get looked at in judgment. We get looked at and said, well, they need all of the medication for anxiety and depression. Clearly the problem is theirs. No, the problem is a collective problem because of the system that is set up in this country and many others for women. You are expecting too much from us. And when we can't get you to change, when you let us know, well, this is the way it is. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. I'm not going to change. We say, okay, and we step away. But that's not good enough for you. You have to have it all your way, men. You have to have everything the way you want it exactly. And then when women say, well, I'm not going to take part in that. Then you start shaming women for wanting to be on their own because we're not taking anything from you except, the so-called loneliness crisis that's going on. And that's a very simple fix. All you got to do is be a better partner. Be a better human. Be somebody that a woman wants to spend their time, attention, and love on. It's as simple as that. But no, men don't want to do that. Instead, they want to shame women for choosing to be single. Because let's really explore what this means. Is we've been trying to get men to change for decades. And they have made it clear they don't want to. They've had it good. I agree. You have had it good. I would love to have myself a wife. But women are not willing to do that anymore. They are not willing to run themselves ragged with no help for a relationship that doesn't consider them an equal, for a relationship that doesn't take into account their needs, wants, and desires. So women are not fighting back. We've tried. We've tried to tell you what we want. We've tried to tell you what will make us happy. We've tried to tell you what it will take for us to want to be with you. And a lot of you just refusing to do that. So we've just opted out. We've said, okay, if that's the way it's going to be, that's fine. You go be you, and I'll go be me. And I will live my life happily single, because then I won't have all the stress of worrying about your job and having your lunch ready and making sure that I have to make your vacation plans and get your doctor's appointments on to the calendar. No, we don't want to do all that for something that's not beneficial to us. So we just said, okay. We gave in. We said, okay. But what you thought we were going to do was just accept the situation. And when we didn't accept the situation, you realized, oh, we might have gotten ourselves in trouble here, because now we're in a loneliness crisis. Now women don't want to be with us at all. And yet, knowing this and knowing what it will take to end the loneliness crisis, to level up, to be better partners, to be better humans, you're going to still try one more tactic to get us in line, and that is to shame us for being single. You're going to shame us for making a decision that's in our best interest, because now women are not supposed to put their best interest first. We've been told that since we were little girls. And now that we have smartened up and realized that if we don't put our best interest first, no one will. And that makes for a very unhappy life. And, we only get one of them. So we're going to try and make this one count. And now we're being shamed for it. Now we're horrible people because we don't want to be taken advantage of. We don't want to be an afterthought. We don't want to be somebody that is just there for when somebody else needs to have something done. Yeah. So the men are feeling a little bit left out. They're feeling lost. They're feeling a little useless even because things are different now. Things progress. That's just life. Things progress, things change. You have to adapt to it. And the most disconcerting part of all of this is men will do whatever they have to get us so-called back in line. And that's what's going on now. That's why Roe versus Wade was overturned, because women are not having babies at the rate that they used to have babies, and they are really worried about the population. They're really worried about the white population, but that's a topic for another podcast. But instead of making the conditions to have a baby more optimal, like offering better health care for the mother and the child, offering daycare services that won't put you in the poorhouse, making sure that the schools, that the children that you send there are safe. They won't do any of that. Instead, they're just going to force women to have babies. And that is what we are starting to see now when it comes to relationships. And it's at the beginning of it. They're just trying to shame us now. And it will work on some women. It would have worked on me 10 years ago. No doubt. Would have worked on me 10 years ago. It won't now. Now I know better. And that's what I want to get across to you is don't fall for it. If you're happy with your life the way it is without a partner, and you meet somebody that you feel is going to add to your life, then go for it. But if you can see right away, if somebody's saying, oh, well, I want a traditional wife. Yeah, they want a traditional wife, meaning they want them to cook and clean and have the babies and take care of them, but they also want them to work. That's what traditional wife means to these men. There was a show on recently about men having to go overseas to date women. And that's what they would say. Well, I want a traditional wife. And I don't remember what country it was, but the woman was like, well, that means that I stay at home and you provide for us financially. He's like, oh, no. You're going to have to work. I mean, do you see how ridiculous that is? You expect us to bring in the same amount of money as you do. You expect us to go to work the same amount of time that you're at work every day. But then you want the traditional wife at home. You want, for when you're at home, to be able to sit back, relax, and have your cocktail before dinner is served to you. Don't you see how ridiculous that is? It doesn't seem ridiculous at first a lot of times because that's the way it's been. That's what we have allowed it to be. And now that we're waking up and we're questioning everything, we realized, hey, I think women are getting the short end of the stick here. This seems a little convoluted. This seems a little absurd. Yeah, because it is. So they're trying to shame us into relationships. Because what is the message that pastor is trying to get across? The STDs. Again, we're dirty people. Us single ladies just go around sleeping with any man and they're going to get dirty STDs because they're dirty people. And then they're going to be alone when they're 50 and have no kids and nobody to take care of them and nobody to spend holidays with. And they're going to have 7 cats and they're going to drink boxed wine. And I say, don't threaten me with a good time. I mean, these men keep throwing out these so-called insults, and it's not having the effect and the impact that you think that it is. We are tired. We are tired of doing everything and then not even being appreciated for it. That's what I was talking about in the beginning. Women work 24/7 in the house, in the home, with their kids, and there's no appreciation for it. It's just a given. Well, that's what women do. No, not anymore. If you don't want to help out, if you are going to add to my to-do list, then I'm just going to go it on my own because I would like to have a life too. I would like to maybe pursue my career, pursue some hobbies, have something besides taking care of a husband and children. And they just think that's so selfish. But men have been doing that forever. Men have always been allowed to have a career. Men have always been allowed to go golf on the weekends. Men have always been allowed to do whatever they want. But when women want to do something, it's selfish and ridiculous and frivolous. And how dare we? So what is the message here to you? To you, don't fall for it. Don't fall for this BS. You know, they can shame women all they want, but we are on to the game, and we are not going to play it. If you want to be in a relationship with a decent woman, then you have to be a decent man. It's really just that simple. Times have changed, and I'm sorry that you don't like it. But change happens. And like I said, it's not like women are forcing men to be in these relationships where we're making all of these conditions. We're not. We're just saying, okay, we'll stick on our own then. We'll be all right. We're going to stick on our own. We're going to live our best life. And maybe we'll die alone. It's obviously a risk we're all willing to take. I mean, I'm married. You know what I mean, though. So don't fall for it. Don't fall for the judgment. Don't fall for the shame, because you are allowed to have needs and desires. And that means that you are allowed to speak them. We are not going to be playing small anymore. We're going to be speaking our truth out loud. And if it makes somebody else uncomfortable, well, that is too bad for them, because I refuse to keep silent so that you can remain comfortable. I want you to do things that you've always been afraid to do. I want you to speak out your truth in front of people you've always been afraid to do that in front of before. And I know that sounds scary, and it is scary, but here is the prize. Once you do, once you get the courage to finally speak up, it's going to feel so good. And even better than that is you're going to realize that you didn't die, that nothing bad happened to you when you actually said your piece, when you said your truth. Because we have always been encouraged to be small, to not speak out, to allow others to have their say. And we're not going to do that anymore, because we are allowed to have goals and dreams and desires and to have our needs met. And if you can't do that, that's okay. We'll figure it out on our own. But don't shame us for opting out of shitty relationships because you don't want to do any work. I want you to explore hobbies. I want you to find out who you really are. Who you really are inside. The little girl that has probably been in there since you were 8 years old, who started to learn that she needed to quiet down and to behave and to be polite and be respectful. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be polite and respectful. I'm saying that there is a time and a place, and that encouraging little girls to not speak their mind, to tone it down. I hate that. I hate that phrase. I cringe every time, especially when I hear a father say it to a daughter. Tone it down. No. Do not tell your girls to tone it down. You encourage them to speak their truth, to keep speaking their truth, because they are entitled to. They are allowed. And that's the only way things are ever going to get better for women. So I want you to figure out the things that it will take for you to love yourself. Because once you get to that place of loving yourself, everything will fall into place. I have just really come into loving myself in the last year or so. And I'm not saying it's all peaches and cream. As you've probably heard me mention before, I've lost some friends. I have had issues with family members. People don't like this new version of me. But you know who does like her? Me. That's right. I love this new version of me. And it's really just a variation of the old me. It's the old me on steroids. Because I've never really been quiet, but now I'm really loud. And I will have my voice heard, and I will have my say. And when I go to sleep every night, I feel damn good about myself. So I want you to push the envelope a little bit. I want you to get out of your comfort zone, because I really think that's what helped me is, always being afraid to post how I felt on social media, always being afraid to tell my family how I really felt about things. And then when I did it, yeah, it caused a little bit of an uproar. But damn, I feel good. I feel really good. And this is what I want for you. And if you think that I can help you get to that point, I would love for you to reach out so that we can have a conversation about how we can go about helping you do that. Because the very best thing about loving yourself is once you love yourself, you trust yourself. And you trust that you will be able to handle anything that comes your way. You will be able to handle anything. And that means that no matter what happens in your life, you are always going to be okay. That's what I want for you. So please reach out. You know all my places. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on the Hopefulist under most categories. If not, you can find me under Wendy McClure. And reach out. Check out my website, hopefulist.com. I hope to hear from you soon. I want you to go out there and be badass. You know I'm always here cheering you on. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. Together, we are better. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and remember to hit that subscribe or follow button.